Hi, my name's Jeff Stappenbeck, and this is my story. My life before Jesus was pretty typical in terms of a typical American family of four. Grew up going to church off and on. By the time I was in college, I had pretty much decided that I didn't need God and that Jesus might have been a historical figure, but he made no difference in my life. It was around that time, it was my junior year or so, that my dad ended up getting sick with cancer. Brain cancer, and my feet got really taken out from underneath me at that point. I'll never forget my uncle's pastor, visiting my dad while he was in ICU, getting stabilized for treatments, visiting almost every day and praying with my family. It really made an impact on me to think maybe God does exist, that he does care, and that maybe he can make a difference in my life. And so from there, I ended up joining with a college Bible study group as I started being open to God working in my life. And they gave me a Bible and a devotional, and that's really eventually how I realized I needed Jesus and gave my life to him. There were some personal sins in my life that I'd never felt bad about before. I never really cared about, but I started hating them, hated that I desired to do them and wanted to stop. And I thought, if I give them up for something like Lent, then God will take those desires away from me and I would be freed. But I was starting to get angry at God because I still desired those things, and worse yet, I still did them. Eventually, the devotional took me to Romans chapter 6. And as I was reading Romans chapter 6, for the first time in my life, I realized that Jesus did something on the cross that I needed. The passage says that I shouldn't have to continue in sin because when Jesus died on the cross, that was my death to sin. And when he rose from the grave, that was my resurrection to a new life, that I had the power to live a new life. And so I was in my dorm room that night. I gave my life to Jesus and believed that his death counted for me to free me from the penalty and the power of sin over me, and to give me a new life, a new heart, and a new desire to follow him. I'd like to say that my life since following Jesus totally changed in that respect. It was shortly after that I still desired the same things, still ended up struggling in the same way, but something did change at that time. When I did desire those things and when I did end up doing those, my response changed. I realized that that's not who I am. I realized that now I know that I am God's son, that I love Jesus, that God's Spirit's in me, and that he's giving me the power to live and to follow him. And my life was changing. And I would say now, over 10 plus years later, that my life is totally different. I could tell you that I wouldn't have the awesome church family I have, wouldn't live where I live, and even more than that, I wouldn't have the wife I have, and the wonderful children I have. And even more than that, I wouldn't enjoy life the way I do, seeing the great blessings and gifts that I do, because I know that I'm a child of God and that this is his world and he is good and he is wise and he is gracious. And also I wouldn't be able to have the hope that I have in the midst of hard times, especially the hardest of times, facing death, especially the death of loved ones like my father. Jesus has made all the difference, and I'm so grateful that I know him. And if you'd like to know more, why don't you direct message me? I'd love to help, love to answer any questions you have. Also, I'd love to invite you to join me for our church family's Easter weekend service. It's going to be online this Sunday at 10 a.m. And I'm going to share it on my news feed, so you can just join me from there and join right in. Anyways, I hope this has been a blessing to you. This is my story.